Peter, welcome to the show, man. I'm so excited to talk to you today. How are you, man?
Oh, it's good, Hassan. Great to see you. It's always good to see you. I'm doing great. We have a rainy day here in LA today.
It is raining really strong, man. I'm just really excited to, first of all, introduce you, Peter Jobst, a little bit. We have known each other for a long time, and you've been working with computers since 1995 for a long time. And today's topic, I mean, it's about a couple different things. It's about the industry around IT, MSPs. It's around computer and technology, where we're going in 2024 and beyond, and the next decade of technology, which I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because, with the tech world, it's an interesting time after COVID and what has been going on with the world. So I'm excited to talk to you today. And I know that you have worked with so many different companies, so many different markets, about a lot of different things. And in the ever-evolving digital landscape, businesses face with numerous challenges in the world of IT and MSP. There's a lot. So I'm really excited, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm excited too. It's good.
100%. So, before we begin into diving into the world of IT and MSP, what's going on in the world today, Peter? Like, just give us like a quick glimpse of what's going on in the world of IT.
IT,
Yeah.
has always evolving, but recently in the last 3 to 5 years, last 2 years has just been on a hockey stick curve of all the new technologies coming out and all the different security issues and advancements that's happening and AI that's happening and just modernization of all companies has really exploded the IT industry.
Wow. Okay, got you. And what is the role, if we get back to the basics of the people that are listening to this show, and this interview, our business owners, our entrepreneurs, founders, executives, other MSP that are listening to this, coming back to the basic, what is the role of an MSP or an IT consultant specifically?
Sure. Yeah, when businesses start off, it's sometimes one or two people, and when you start to build a big business, you got to trust other people to take, because you can't do everything yourself. So the role of IT has always been to support the business's IT needs, but today it's about exploring all those new technologies, avenues that are out there right now. And what we always say is helping businesses win with IT. What things in IT can help your business be above your competitors? How can you be more competitive? How can you do things faster? How can you have more features? And how can you roll those out to what your customers are asking for?
Okay. And how does this, what you're talking about, is it different from the traditional IT support that bigger companies take, corporations?
Yes, so many times people, when they think of IT, they think of, oh, my laptop broke, I need, the screen is broken, I need something to fix it. But as you can imagine, there's so many more things than that. And it used to be that it was an office, an internet connection, your Wi-Fi connections. And now it's about, where's your cloud files being hosted? Where's your emails being hosted? Where's your applications being hosted? Everything is in the cloud. And now is, how can I get AI to help my business even accelerate faster, or at least keep up with everybody else?
Okay, got you. So that being said, man, I mean, as we end 2023, this interview is being taken just before Christmas and the holidays. What's going on next year, 2024? What's the new things happening in the industry?
2024 is, the new things that are happening is a continuation of what has been happening, is that companies having servers in server rooms is kind of, it has gone away and is going to continue to go away. Cloud services is going to continue to move up. Work from home and remote access teams, not only around the country, obviously, but now around the world. People are working with each other in all different countries right now, from South America to Pakistan to India to Ukraine, the Philippines, and they're all working together. And so it's just been amazing to see how the concept of time, what time zone am I in, has kind of become this whole new thing about, like, where you're always trying to figure out what time zone somebody's in and scheduling meetings around, everybody around the world's time zones. But everybody around the world is working together now. And it's good for both the business owners and for people in other countries that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunities that they had before. Wow.
Okay, got you. So when that was a good point you just shared, Peter, about the cloud services, that that's going up a little bit more, right?
Absolutely. Everything is going to cloud services. All the file services, email services, collaborative services that you're working on, apps that are specific for your business, like whatever business model you're in these days, there's an app that goes along with it that somebody has developed and runs up in the cloud, and you're not paying for the servers anymore, but you're paying a monthly service for it, a service fee for it.
Okay, so when you talk about the cloud, for businesses, what I think is like, well, security and safety, having everything in the cloud, for a business owner. I mean, imagine like all the things that you could imagine in the cloud, things that shouldn't, you don't want other people to see it. How do you have enough security and safety around that?
Yeah, that's good. I think one thing that people have to realize, number one, is if you have something digital, there's always a chance. I mean, things can be shared so easily these days, and what used to be in the day, somebody would have to come in with a thumb drive or some sort of hard drive and copy and take off with them, now can be accessed anywhere. But the cloud security has been improving quite a bit from what they call zero trust, which is starting to, hey, whatever device I'm on has to be authenticated, has to be already recognized, has to have all the proper security stuff on it before I'm allowed to even get access to the company's data. That's one of the kind of the big improvement of cloud services recently and security, is that we've gone away from just a regular old email username and password, and now there are multiple levels of security that are happening that are helping with keeping things secure.
Okay, got you. Because I feel like it's a good point, because emails and Facebook accounts and the Google Drive, like, things are being easily slipped away, and even Facebook ad accounts, even YouTube ad accounts, easily taken away in an instant, Peter. So I think that's a really important topic for people to be more aware of, around the safety and security. And you, as in your industry, man, you've been working with you have so many stories about hacks and cyber attacks, correct?
Sadly, yes. Sadly, and it is sad to see. I mean, it's sad to see, because I've seen family businesses, 100-year-old businesses, that have shut down after a cyber hack, after ransomware, and they just never really recovered. So it's a real threat to businesses these days. And one event, it's not always about just like, oh, they messed up my computers anymore, or like I'm gonna have to, or they got access to my data. Now it's about, hey, they're sending my data, they're sending my customers that sent me data out, and they're sharing it out on the world, and then they're blackmailing, the customer. Like the hackers are blackmailing the customers of, if you don't pay us this money, we're going to release this data. So it has gone to these next levels, and there's just infinite numbers of ways to attack people these days, of pretending to be a vendor and asking to get paid, to the ransomware of encrypting the files and then saying, hey, if you want this data back, you got to pay us, this ransomware.
Wow.
But there's all kinds of vectors to even impersonating a loved one's voice, and what they call a virtual kidnapping, of where they're using, pulling on your heartstrings of like your loved one is in trouble, and they're trying to get you to pay money very fast. And so the threats are growing, and the complexity that they have, the hackers have all the time in the world to come up with new scams. Wow. And they're definitely coming up with them. So staying ahead of it is very important.
Okay. And what in your way, like, how could people stay ahead of these hacks? Because I mean, there's a lot of different hacks that you told me a while back, but how could people be, people come to you when it happens.
Yeah.
And how can people prevent that? What do you think, on the education side or on their side?
Well, one of the big things, historically, I have had a hard time getting people to care about security. We've had this conversation many times in the past of I ask business owners, how important is security? Nothing's more important than security to us. And then I say, okay, we got to invest $100,000 to be secure. And they're like, we don't need to be that secure. I don't have anything that important anyway. And it's been always this thing that it's like, it'll never happen to me. Like, I'm willing to take the risk. But something that has changed recently is that companies that you want to do business with, American Express, Amazon, Microsoft, any big company that if you want to do business with them, they're requiring you to be security compliant, and a lot of times to carry cybersecurity insurance. And you can't get cybersecurity insurance without being compliant. So it's starting to push businesses to be more compliant. And it's all about doing things, preparing ahead of time. What does that mean? Locking down the obvious things, like, as we all know, multi-factor authentication on accounts.
100%.
Like, that's the one thing that everybody, like all insurance companies are saying, like the first thing they ask are, all of your accounts have MFA on it? And you better make sure that you can answer yes to all those, because that's the easiest thing you can do. And then there's layers about monitoring your domain name and lookalike domain names, people who might be trying to impersonate you, monitoring your vendors' lookalike domains. Like, if you have vendors, you should be monitoring their domain and domains that might be lookalike domains to them. So that's like another level of it. Dark web identification. Many like accounts and passwords are out there on the dark web to be sold. Credit card numbers, social security numbers, usernames, passwords. And many times people, they don't know that you can scan that or search that or get alerts from that, and they'll see their account when you do a search on it, and they'll see their account and the password that they use all the time or something very similar, and they're like, oh, they're totally shocked by that.
Wow.
Right? So there's that level, and then there is the obvious one of securing your computers and your devices with endpoint security, things that monitor for viruses coming on or suspicious activity happening, and being able to alert it on that side of it, to having a security operations center that's monitoring all these things for you is like, those are kind of some of the those are like the things that cybersecurity insurance companies are going to want to see that you're thinking about. And I guess there's one thing I didn't mention, which is backups. Like, having multiple backups of your data is a very important thing. Many times, especially in a ransomware, if somebody says, hey, haha, I just encrypted all of your data, you have to pay me $1 million to get it back. And you say, man, that was really mean of you, but thank goodness I have another copy of it over here that you couldn't touch. So I'm just going to say, no, I'm going to lock all my stuff down. I'm going to replace my computers, my accounts. And I'm going to go get my data that I always had for my backups and restore it. And that's like a real good way of business continuity.
I love that. I mean, what you just said, I feel like it's so important moving forward in the, in the next, 5-10 years, for people to be prepared and actually take the time to make sure that they have their systems safe and secure is really important. So thank you so much for sharing those points. Those are points that, as a business owner, because I'm saying this because worked with a lot of different kinds of businesses, that this is the stuff that we don't look at until something happens. But this is the real conversation that we as leaders need to actually understand and take the time to before something really goes bad, because everything is now on the cloud.
Yes.
So talking about, IT services, professional IT services, MSP, when should a business consider of hiring an MSP or IT consultant?
A good time that we find is that when businesses have gone through their bootstrap or their infancy and they're now starting to grow up a little bit, they're becoming an adolescent business, is a really good time to be hiring an MSP, because you're now a real company, you have real customers, you're making real revenue, and it's worth it to protect that. And it's also worth it for you to go from your infancy to an adult company. And that's through an MSP is how you kind of get there. And a lot of times is then ultimately an adolescent company that moving to an adult company will start to bring in hire their own full-time staff of IT. But there's that interim period between somebody being an infant company and an adult company where it makes a lot of sense, whether they're opening new offices, they're building new applications, they're hiring lots of new people. Those are all good times to start to bring on a consultant.
Okay, and when you do that, because it's like these, like, why should I not hire someone full time, a full time IT company, like full time on board? Like, when should they focus on just hiring an IT consultant and a full time IT department?
Sure. So, a good time for that, like number one, when you work with an MSP, you have a team of people that are working for you. So when you're a small company, you have just like one IT person. It can be good that you have this like personal relationship with somebody, but what happens when they want to go on vacation? What happens when they're sick? What happens if they go find another job? There's that side of it where you have all your eggs kind of in one basket. And at the same time, what kind of knowledge do they have? Like maybe that IT person that you hired full time, maybe they really know about your business, but they don't know about all the other things that are happening. So they're at a disadvantage because they just not seeing all the different, things that are happening to all the other businesses. But when you work with an MSP, we're always working with all different kinds of businesses and all different kinds of technology. And it helps us move up faster. Like we adopt new technologies faster because one of our clients is always asking for it before the other ones. And that gives us the opportunity to, ramp up on the new technology and then share it, with the rest of with the other clients.
Okay, awesome. I love that. And talking about that, Peter, what are the signs that indicate that we need like MSP services? We need an IT consultant to come and take a look at this. When is what indicates that that's the time, so that the people that are listening, it's like, when is the right opportunity for us to take the time and have a conversation with an MSP or an IT consultant like yourself? You've been in the industry over a few decades, so I would love to hear that from you.
Sure. I mean, number one, if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, and I say, if you wake up tomorrow and all your data is gone, or all your data is encrypted, or what's your plan? What's your plan? What are you going to do? And if you don't have a plan, I mean, that's a really good, if you say, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do, and you start thinking about it, that's a real good indication that you need to hire a professional, because that's our job, is to be planning for these things ahead of time. So at least you would say, well, I got an IT company, like they sold me all the services to stay secure, so I'm going to talk to them first. They told me that they have a disaster recovery plan. We're going with that. That's a valid answer to that. If you're like thinking to yourself, man, I don't know what I would do, then that's a real good indication that you would be, you should be looking for an MSP. But on other things to be kind of looking at is, hey, I'm starting to hire a bunch of people, and now I'm onboarding and offboarding people all the time, and they're always asking me questions about how do I sign in and how do I set this up and how do I install this. Like, that's usually a really good indication that you need an MSP. Or I can tell you these days, if you're having a hard time dealing with all the licensing, I bought these licenses, I'm applying these licenses, am I buying too many? Like, that's a really good time to talk to a to hire an MSP.
So Peter, yeah. So one of the things I wanted to actually look at is, I was looking at your website, and you actually have an audit, right? That people could actually take, and there's two kinds of audits. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, we have a simple test that you can take on our website, jobst.us, and there is what we call a 5-minute test, which if you don't know anything and you're not that interested, it's a 5-minute drive-through audit. It's pretty basic, and it will tell you kind of our minimum security things that people should be doing. And then we have a more in-depth one, and if you're really interested in it, and if you are working with an MSP now, or like an IT person, you can go look through these questions, and you can look through them, and you can start to ask your own IT staff or people in your company, hey, do we know anything? What are the answers to some of these questions? And it's a good place to start. Or are you ready to go, or are you not ready to go? Are you improving your security, or are you just hoping that nothing's going to happen?
That being said, talking about the aspects of IT and MSP services, and when is the indication, when do we know, and all this other stuff. So thank you so much for sharing that. I would love to talk about the cost analysis and investments and benefits, because a lot of these businesses don't know at the right time. So how do the cost of an MSP compare with maintaining an in-house IT team?
Well, okay, so the cost, obviously IT has always been considered a cost center. And is IT expensive? Absolutely. But I think a lot of times is, what's the cost of not doing something? Is IT really turns out to be a lot like insurance, I believe. Like you can drive around and not pay for auto insurance, and maybe nothing will happen, but run into one Tesla 5 miles an hour, and you're talking a huge bill that you're going to have to pay, plus all the legal things that happen to you. It's not even worth it. Everybody knows I got to have auto insurance, because it's worth it for me to pay $100, $200 a month, so that I don't have to pay $100,000 because I ran into a Lamborghini or a Tesla or something, or anything. Everything is so expensive these days on cars. So when it comes to IT, it's very similar. You're making investments in your business. Your business has worth to it, right? If your business just went away, that's a big asset that you lost, and you need to protect it. And with IT, one half of it is the protection. The other half of it is the performance of, how do I do more faster? How do I get more people to collaborate with each other? How can I communicate with more customers at the same time? how can I keep track of more customers at the same time? So those are the, there's the two sides of IT as far as cost goes. Half of it is like insurance, and the other half of it is like, is like steroids for your business. Of like, you want to have growth, you're gonna have to have more IT.
Okay, so comparing it to an IT consultant and an in-house, these are the different aspects, right? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of long-term cost savings through an MSP service?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the things you were asking earlier is what's the cost difference between hiring a full-time staff and having an MSP? And it really comes down to amount of knowledge and size of team that you can afford. And, the good news is that an MSP is usually like a third of the cost of hiring just one full-time employee. One full-time, decent IT, technician, desktop technician, 90,000 a year, 100,000 a year, plus taxes, plus plus parking spaces, and everything else that goes along with hiring an employee, all their benefits. You're talking $130,000 for one person. Whereas an MSP, real numbers are 30,000 a year, 40,000 a year, but that's for a whole team of people.
Wow.
And it's a third of the cost of really a full-time person. So sometimes people, they think it's a lot of money, but when they compare it to, when you think about it on an hourly rate, it seems like sometimes it's high. But when you look at it like on a yearly rate, that's where you can really see the difference between a very expensive full-time employee and like an affordable, MSP that you can count on and is available all the time.
100%. Like that's a fraction of the cost. It's a non-brainer to work with an IT consultant for a few years before. And this range, Peter, are they like making between what, 2 million, a million a year, 2 million, 3, 5? Like, what's that range?
Yeah, like 2 to 5 million is usually a company like that that's looking to, that's when they start to really need an IT team.
And basically, rather than paying 120, 130,000 for a full-time employee, you can hire a full team of an IT consultant, MSP, which is fraction of the cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that opportunity is a complete different mind shift and a paradigm shift where you don't need to hire a full-time IT department, and having an IT department that is a consultant that has the whole team and that work with you until you scale to 10, 20, 30 million, so that you move on with that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And just one other comparison also is to the one IT guy, or my computer broke and then a break fix kind of thing. And some people, when they're starting off, they think of IT as this kind of break fix. Oh, something broke, and then they fix it, and it's okay. And maybe an MSP might be more expensive than that. But the problem is that then when you go back and you have like another, the issue happens again. Now you're talking to like some new person again now, and they don't know all the history of it. And maybe they're starting all over again. So that's kind of where having that relationship, hiring an MSP is a real relationship. It's a long-term professional business relationship that helps businesses, not just with IT, but it's with, it's business consulting.
Okay, awesome. Talking about services tailored to the right side of the business, Peter, how does IT needs vary between a small, medium, and large business? For those kind of businesses.
Sure. The good news is that it's scalable. So small businesses really need the same type of services as large business, but it's just scale. It's on a much smaller scale for a small business. But in general, they should be keeping the same kind of. They should be having security implementations and procedures. They should be having backups. They should be having account managements and things of this nature. And as you move up, you get more users and more devices, and so it scales up relatively linear. Like it's relatively linear on the scale up. Obviously, like enterprises need a lot more IT, but they're also a lot bigger. And I think the number is most businesses spend between 4 and 7% of their annual revenue on IT service, on IT in general.
That's based on the revenue on a yearly basis. 4 to 6% go into IT. It's the same thing on the marketing side. Like marketing is like, depending on the company, how they want to spend 10%, 20%, but IT that's the range, 4 to 6%.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's a good opportunity to think about that as the company.
As a business owner, I mean, when you do your taxes and you see what your annual revenue is, and then you go look at how much your business spent on IT, you might think that you spent a lot, but when you talk to your accountant and they say, hey, you spent 1.5% of your annual revenue on IT, you might think to yourself, wow, okay, well, maybe I need to, maybe I'm not doing all the things I need to be doing. And rarely have I ever come across where somebody's spending too much on IT. It rarely happens. I mean,
rarely. And the best part, Peter, I think is like, if anyone wants to know about where they're at in their journey of IT and their security, is just going through the assessment. I mean, it's a free assessment. They could take the assessment. There's a long one that's 20 minutes. There's one that's 5 minutes. You take it. You could take it with your IT department if you have one, or if you don't, just go through yourself. And you'll have an idea of where you're at, which is awesome that you provide for free on that side, on your website, jobst.us. And I know that, Peter, on your services, you customize your services to different businesses, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Now, talking about the thing about businesses, what's the value proposition of an MSP, right? It's like, what's the value? The primary benefits of partnering up with an IT consultant with MSP. What's the primary benefits?
This is from what our customers say, is so they can sleep at night. That's their primary business. I mean that's the primary reason. When they come to us, they're like, oh my God, things are crashing all the time. We've had all these problems. We don't know, things are up, things are down. Our customers are mad at us. And, after we work with them for a while, they're like, Peter, I know that you guys have it, and now I can sleep, I can sleep well at night. Because business owner doesn't have to constantly worry about, is this happening? Are things up? Are they down today? And it allows them to focus on the business, on their business.
Yeah.
They don't have to deal with all the IT stuff anymore.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. That's, that value proposition is awesome. Based on, sleeping at night and knowing that there's no cyber attack that could come in. When someone is making enough money, you would, because it happened a lot of times, not just to the people that I know, but businesses that are making a lot of money, and they're like, wow, at least I know that I'm safe on that side of things. Awesome. Can you share some, Peter, on your side, success stories or stories that you want to share where your services had a significant impact on cyber attacks or the IT side of things, or computers or technology?
Okay, sure. Well, some success stories that we have is that besides just, sometimes I think of MSP as computers, Windows computers and files and email and things like that. And, we really take it to the next level of where we're involved in the application development. So many of our clients are developing applications, and we're, helping them get that. And we have stories of businesses that started off with just a small idea and running on AWS, on Amazon AWS in the cloud, and things are up and down all the time. And we've taken them to a full-fledged business now where they have hundreds of clients that are paying thousands of dollars a month, for their services. They've got a great reputation. They have, in their industry, they have features that the biggest companies have, like one of their features, and this company has been able to roll out all these different features to their customers that have put them like way ahead of other big companies that are their competitors. So I've seen them grow from just a very small company to really like, and their business is accelerating right now.
Wow.
So I mean, that's one. And many times we start with businesses that are kind of small. They're really in that growth. They're entrepreneurs. They're in that growth mentality, and they're in a kind of a tough time when they come to us. Many times is that they're having these problems because they're having growing pains, and we've taken them from usually 1, 2, 3 people to 25 people. Law offices started off with 2 partners and their wife, and now they have 2 offices and 35 employees, and we have entertainment companies that have started off sharing an office and now they've broken off and they have multiple offices and recording studios, and they're recording all kinds of podcasts and live streams and things of this nature.
That's awesome.
We have a lot of success stories, and people are very thankful to work with us because we're there in the hard times for a lot of we're there and we always help them get through things.
And you just shared a couple industries, law firms, entertainment. Any other tailored specific industries you want to share that you have worked with before?
Film production companies and entertainment companies.
SaaS, right?
SaaS companies, retail companies, just really a wide range of businesses.
Okay. So based on these specialized services that you addressed, is there anything that you would like to share based on the specialized industry or solutions that you offer, Peter, as Jobst IT consultant within that you want to share on that side?
I think the thing that really differentiates us from others is that we're the senior level engineers. Like sometimes MSPs are really like the basics. They're the desktop and kind of like end user, and we position ourselves as a senior level consulting company. So besides Windows, we're on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So we do a lot of application development in the cloud on Linux web servers and in containers, in kind of all the latest application development, hosting, sides of things. That's kind of where we position ourselves, is on that senior level side of it. So a lot of times, like if businesses are looking for something that they need, that senior level IT company, and they also want to have their network and their users have a good experience, that's a perfect fit for us. And that's what our niche in the industry is.
That's awesome. I mean, keeping up with the pace of technology, Peter, and where things are going, how do you stay updated with technology and trends in your space?
I think we're always learning. I mean, I think that there are certifications for things and courses that you can go take, but by the time they get around to making a course for a lot of these things, it's a little bit too late. People used to see this in the universities all the time, of like, oh, I'm studying for IT, like I'm studying Cobalt, okay, well that went out of favor 15 years ago, so I think one of the ways that we're advancing is that we're on the cutting edge or the bleeding edge of things, and so we're always seeing these new emerging technologies. And what is interesting to me is a little story that, like, I started on I started working on computers in the 70s, in like 1979. And in the 80s, I was working in MS-DOS and Unix at the time. And the thing is those same commands are still the foundation of all IT, of all computing. A lot of those things, it was a really good foundation. And what you find is that even though these technologies are new, if you understand how it works, it's really just like, it's just another flavor. It's just another flavor. It's an incremental improvement. So for us, Jobst IT Consulting has been in business for 20 years. So, for every year that we go, we've improved. And that's how we stay current with things, is that we don't have to go out and reinvent the wheel, or, we've been working in the industry so long that all the things that are coming up are just an incremental improvement over what was before. So what we need to learn is just the incremental improvement.
Wow, I love what that said. I mean, you're in the game, basically, Peter. You're in the game. You've been in the game for a long time, and you're evolving and adapting as the industry is growing. Talking about security and compliance, what cyber attacks measures are implemented to protect client data in these days?
Things that are implemented, we kind of spoke about it a little bit before. We have kind of our basic six. These are the six basic things that you need to do as a company, and there's more above this. There's lots more above it, but the minimum ones are keeping your operating systems up to date, keeping your applications up to date, running endpoint protection on all your devices, having really good backups, multiple backups. You should always have your data in at least 3 places at the same time. Multi-factor authentication is a big one that everybody's requiring what they call MFA, or 2-factor authentication. And the last one is having a network device that is like a firewall, or a network device that is monitoring what kind of is keeping you protected from the outside world, basically. So network firewall protection. Those are the 6 things that we have as a minimum.
As a minimum.
Yes.
Wow.
And above that, the next, the real security comes in with what I said before, dark web monitoring. Here's a big one: end user training. So you don't want to get hacked. Biggest way that people get hacked is through social engineering, through your own employees calling, hey, what's the password? And they, I'm your IT company, can you give me the password? And they say, oh, thanks. And they give out the password. So the training, the end user training is a big part of it. Having what they call endpoint detection, which instead of antivirus where it just looks for something happening, this is looking for unusual things happening. Oh, did somebody log on at 3 o'clock in the morning and start sending out a bunch of data, things of this nature? Having those really good backups. What we refer to as having, when you upgrade, that you always have a failback plan, right? Like that you have a place that you can, something didn't work when you rolled it out, or something happened to you, you can just roll back to what it was like yesterday. And then you can start, maybe you miss a day or something, but businesses can survive of losing, a day sometimes, or an hour or something. But it's when they lose everything that is a huge problem.
That is awesome. I that what you just said is I need to print it out. It's like a PDF. Those 6 phases, those other phases. I feel like that's a perfect framework to look at based on what's going on the security and compliance side, and the requirements and how to assist it, and meeting compliance, and so on and so forth. So that is awesome. Talking about building collaborative relationships, How is the collaborative relationship with clients fostered within this arena, Peter?
Sure. We have two things that make a good client. Number one, they trust us. Number two, they pay their invoices on time. And I know that sounds kind of like it's so simple, but trust is what our business is really built off of. And if people don't trust us, there's not much we can do, because we have like a real relationship where you got to trust us as your partner. Like, and we want you to be successful. Like, it doesn't help us to charge so much money that you can't afford it and your business goes under. Your business has to be able to succeed, and we become just a line item, on the cost of doing business.
Exactly.
That's the best case scenario for us. Is that we work with companies that are growing, and they continue to grow. Their revenue continues to grow. Their profits continue to grow, and then it makes it easy to afford us. And I think, and that's how we collaborate, with clients, is we listen to our clients. And I think another thing that sets us apart of other MSPs is that we work within what kind of business we're working at. Like, what kind of systems do we have? What kind of systems do they have? We don't necessarily try to fit them into a box. We don't have a predefined box that we try to put all the businesses in. We look at the business and say, where are you now? What's your interim position, and where are you going to be in the long term? So we a lot of times we take customers, they have whatever they have, and I can't just snap my fingers and go, boom, you're secure. Like, I have to take them through this process of, like, maybe something bad is happening now. Maybe we're going to do an interim fix. We're going to get you stabilized, but then we have this long-term plan for you. And here's all the things you need to do. There's a long list of things to do, and we're going to get them done. What we use, Kaizen, which is like continuous improvement, little bit every day. We're going to get these things done by doing a little bit every single day.
I love that, Kaizen. That's awesome. That is great. That's a great reminder for us to understand how the collaborative relationship with an MSP or specifically IT consultant actually works. I love that, Peter, that you just said that. And how do you approach communication and reporting to the client, do you think?
Communication, we're in constant communication. I think we have probably so much communication sometimes that it can be overwhelming. We have ticketing systems that we use. So everything that's ever done is tracked in our ticketing system, which is good, because when somebody puts in a request for some sort of support on something, we document it, and then we document the process of what happens, and then if that same thing happens in the future, we always can go back to that ticketing system and say, oh, I see this happened before. Oh, I know what to do. Like those kinds of things. Hey, we already resolved this issue. We don't have to like reinvent the wheel every single time. So that's like one way that we communicate with them. We do monthly status calls with our clients, and we review the tickets that happened, and then what's going to be happening in the upcoming month. We do a lot of video calls, and we even do a lot of phone calls and a lot of text messages to our clients, because people still seem to respond best these days to text message.
Indeed, text message is like the quickest way sometimes.
Yeah.
That being said, Peter, as we conclude the meeting here in a second, choosing the right MSP and IT consultant, choosing the right IT and MSP consultant, what should a business consider when selecting an MSP?
I have a great analogy. Choosing an MSP is like choosing your spouse. Like, you better choose wisely. Like, are you going to buy the cheapest, are you going to get the cheapest wife? Are you going to get the cheapest husband? Are you going to get the most extravagant wife or husband? Or do you want to have a relationship with a real partner? And then what it really comes down to is choosing is, do you have a good relationship? Do you have a good rapport? Do you trust him? Do you like working with him? those are the things, that really, when you're looking at hiring an MSP, is think about it. In the worst of times, these are the people that you're going to have to call. In the best of times, they're going to be around, and in the worst of the times, they're going to be there around. And do you like working with these people? And do you trust them to take you to, do all those things that they need to do behind the scenes, and be a real partner?
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Peter. I think that is such a good analogy to actually fully understand that. And what differentiates your services specifically, Peter, from others in the marketplace?
I think what differentiates us is that we do a lot of different technology. So I think we have a wide range, and as I already said, we work on Microsoft products, Apple product, Mac OS and Linux. We're on lots of different cloud platforms: Amazon, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So what differentiates us is that number one is that we're senior level, and we're for the companies that are looking kind of for senior level. And what we've heard a number of times is like a lot of other companies, IT companies, they get started on something, but they just never finish it.
100%.
And I'll never say that we're the cheapest, but I will always tell you that you can count on us to get it done, for sure. Like when we start off on a project, we'll do whatever it takes to get that project done.
I feel like this interview was so streamlined with understanding the IT world and the MSP world and where the market is going in a very, very simple way, because IT and MSP could be very complex. So I want to thank you for simplifying this conversation, because in today's digital era, partnering with the right MSP and IT consultant is not just a choice, but it's a strategic necessity for businesses looking to thrive. 100%. Like with AI and what's going on the next couple of years in the cloud, it's a necessity to partner up with the right MSP partner. And I just want to say, thank you for sharing the simplicity and vocabulary so that people understand this on an easier way. That's awesome. And Peter, what is something that we don't know about you here? Something that's really cool.
Something that's really cool. I don't know. Well, I mean, something that's really cool is that I DJ'd since I was 19 years old. I do it as much as I can. I love electronic music. I love music. I'm much more of a music person than a movie person. So sometimes I think it comes out, I like to have fun. And I think most people know that about me when they meet me.
100%, man. 100%. Any last words for the listeners listening to this podcast show interview online?
Just, if you have any questions, one thing is that I always have a very open mind. I'm always happy just to have conversations. I never have any expectations. When people call me about asking about this, I keep an open mind and I try to give people a real answer. It's not always a sales thing. I try to give them hey, here's the best direction for you. And I'm always happy to entertain different opportunities. So if you have some sort of questions or opportunities that you're not sure about, you can always contact us and we'll give you our honest opinion about it. And it gives you a good direction to go.
That is awesome, Peter. Peter, it was such a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
And going just in depth around IT. So thank you. I can't wait to share this with more people in the industry. And so thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Hassan. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.